And the cretins are back, forgetting that global security remains at risk thanks to a European war, and Britain has been plunged into the biggest cost of living crisis in a generation. The opposition have started obsessing over Partygate. And by opposition, I don't just mean Labour, the SNP and the Lib Dems. I mean the mainstream media too. The BBC, The Guardian, The Daily Mirror, ITV News, Sky News, Channel 4 News and many others in the MSM are conspiring to convince you that whether small-time government officials, most of whom are no longer in post, broke ludicrous lockdown rules in 2020 is again the world's biggest story. Now, for lack of any doubt, I'm going to repeat my long-held position that it was wrong for Number 10 officials to break the ludicrous rules they introduced, which were morally wrong to force anyone to follow. All of the COVID fines should be rescinded and the government should admit the law was an ass. But the politicising of this story is being led by the grasping, pathetic and frankly embarrassing Angela Rayner, who is now actually using blatant lies about Boris Johnson's international standing to call on the Prime Minister to quit. Look.
Once that trust and confidence has gone in the Prime Minister, then that damages us not only in this country, but internationally. We saw the pictures from NATO over the last couple of days where Boris Johnson was on his own and all the other world leaders were walking past him because they haven't got any trust and confidence in his abilities now because of the way in which he's acted. And therefore it damages us, not only in our democracy here, but it damages us abroad as well. And at serious times like this, there's more than willing, capable people that can take over. And I think Boris Johnson has proven he's not fit to be Prime Minister.
Sorry, I'm just imagining Angela Rayner being in any position of power and feeling a mix of despair and morality at such an absurd prospect. But this is Labour's deputy leader using blatant left-wing media lies to try and bring down the Prime Minister, which cannot simply be dismissed as ridiculous as she is. Boris Johnson has been the Western leader most trusted throughout the Ukraine crisis, far more than Biden or Scholz or Macron. Rayner, in that interview with ITV News, is referring to footage from last week's NATO summit, which has widely been used by the left-wing media, including, shamefully, the BBC, showing the PM appearing to look isolated during a meeting with fellow leaders.
Remarkably isolated, even as the Kremlin crowned him the most active anti-Russian leader.
Now, the use of that clip, shame on Sarah Smith at the BBC, by the way, for voicing a report using that clip, because it's not just a distortion, it's a downright lie. Because Boris had been warmly greeted first by the US president and all other major leaders. The opposite of isolated, I'm sure you'll all agree. Now, I didn't even bother to use any of those clips or talk about the BBC lies last week because it was just yet another smear from the biggest proponents of fake news in this country. But this lie is now being used by the Labour Party to call on the Prime Minister to leave his job at a time of international crisis. That is irresponsible. The echo chamber of the lefty media and the Labour Party is seeing fake news treated as fact. That's deeply disturbing. So can you trust Angela Rayner? Nope. Can you trust the Labour Party? Nope. Can you trust the BBC? Nope. So is Partygate the number one story in the world, putting the future of the Prime Minister under threat? Nope, nope, nope. Ignore the cretins.